You're tuned in to Shake, Rattle, and Goal, the official podcast of your Springfield Thunderbirds.
Becca's there on the backhand, scoring the save, rebound in the crease, they score!
Hosted by Matt Baker and Steve Forney. A show that's everything Springfield hockey, with interviews including players, coaches, and staff.
The Springfield Indians repeat as the Calder Cup champions.
Listen to this podcast on all major streaming platforms and wherever you download podcasts.
In his first year at the helm, Kevin McDonald and Drew Bannister have the T-Birds in the Calder Cup Finals.
Watch the podcast on the official Shake, Rattle, and Goal YouTube page at SRG Podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Matt Baker and Steve Forney.
With speed up the right wing, Alexandrov, the shot, fan rebound, he scores! Alexandrov, coast to coast, has tied it. 124 remaining. Nikita Alexandrov, a one-man band to tie this game at 2. Pekka goes down to a knee. They keep it in the zone with 20 seconds left. Looking for the deflection, they score! And guess who? It's Alexandrov again. Springfield has turned it around in the final minute 24 to take the lead. The only guy that has hurt them all game is going to give Springfield the win. You must be kidding me. 8 seconds, all that remain. Merkulov to center. Pekka cuts it off and fires wide of the empty net. But time is going to run out on the Bruins. An incredible comeback from the T-Birds late in the third. Nikita Alexandrov with 2 goals in 66 seconds to give the T-Birds a 3-2 win.
Well, there you have it. The end of the game against Providence. Call is coming from Ryan Smith of your Springfield Thunderbirds and Austin Rook, play-by-play guy of the the Providence Bruins, alongside Matt Baker. I am Steve Forney. Episode number 26 is brought to you by our friends at White Lion Brewing in downtown Springfield and in Amherst, by our friends at Brewcade on Walnut Street in Agawam, and by our friends at Landscaping That Fits, 413-847-0338. Matt Baker, now that is a weekend.
Oh my gosh. This is what I am. I compared to some of our listeners, I am admittedly a new AHL fan, again, compared to some of you lifers. And I love it, but this is it. I mean, how do you, the up and down and the hot and the cold, it's great. And it hurts when it hurts. It's great when it's great.
It rules when it rules.
And if I could, after we're going to get into all the goods and some not so good, like some stuff they still need to clean up. But I enjoyed listening to Colton Ellis's interview after his shutout victory against the Iowa Wild, and he just basically said, yeah, it's tough. You can't get too high when it's high, and you can't get too low when it's low. And you have to have that next up mentality, next game mentality. And it's so true. And it's what separates professional athletes from us, among other things, but their ability to stay even keel and not get too emotional. And I think the team knows that they are playing playoff hockey now. And I think this is a good thing. Everybody else in the Atlantic Division, with the exception of the Thunderbirds, the Phantoms, and the Wolfpack, are still in it. I think it's a good thing for 2 out of those 3 teams where you have to play. Right now, if you're Providence, it stings. It hurts. You heard it in the voice of their play-by-play guy. That hurt. That's a bad loss. But they're in the playoffs. All right. So that mentality of on to the next is okay. Right now, starting this weekend, the Thunderbirds are in playoff hockey. If they don't win, they're not in. That's it. And so I think that's a good thing. And I'm glad we have a positive sort of show this week, because I don't know if I could, after my day, I don't know if I could handle a, coming in after riding the losing streak. So,
well, so a couple things. I think the biggest takeaway of that Providence game is that as of right now, if the season ended today, that's who you're playing in the first round. So
yeah,
how is that going to mentally sit with Providence if they're hosting game 1 against this team who just came in and buried you at the last second in your own building? Mm-hmm. What's that going to be like? come playoff time. So that's something to keep in mind. I do think we do a good job of keeping things even keeled. I don't think we ever get too high or too low here. And I think that's why we're here, because we see your fan rants and it's like, oh boy, people are not happy. But this is your gentle reminder, your gentle nudge that you can't get too high and you can't get too low, especially in this league and with this. And you mentioned Colton Ellis, what he said, what makes it even harder in this league is that games come at you so fast.
Yeah.
So like if you have a bad Friday night, you probably have another game Saturday, and you just might have another game Sunday, and you got to turn it around, and you got to have a short memory. It's not like the NHL where you can, you play Sunday and you play terribly, but you're not playing again until Wednesday. So you have a, practice Monday, and no, you don't really get that chance a lot in this league. So for them to really turn it around, and again, Iowa came at a good time, because you're 4-0 against the Iowa Wild. You go in there with winning the first two of the season series. They're in your building. They push you around. You push back. You get Dylan Peterson back. You get Michael Bushinger back. So, those guys weren't on the ice for the, what was it, 6 games losing streak. So,
yeah,
you get a little bit of a refresher when you get those guys in the lineup, and it looked it. Dylan Peterson was awesome this weekend.
He was fantastic.
And on that player, I hope he can continue. I know he started the year like gangbusters. He started the season, and then he kind of cooled off there for a little bit. And what I saw out there was like October Dylan Peterson, which is a good thing. And I can only imagine that he's going to kind of keep that train rolling here heading into the playoffs down the stretch.
Yeah, I think, well, let's get into the Iowa games. I think first off, fans, well done. Awesome job. I thought I was there Friday night, and I thought we were rocking. Well done. You can hear them Saturday on the broadcast. So again, I think you showed up.
Good Saturday too. Yep.
Yeah. And the part that we play as the fans, that sort of extra little oomph, that little juice that the team feeds off of, we hear it about so much. Well done. Cause I think that helped. As far as Dylan Peterson goes, I think you're right. The way he started the season, you almost like, this kid's a rookie. He played college hockey last year, right? He kind of took the league by storm almost. Not the league, but he took the team by storm, so to speak. And you're right. He kind of did cool off. But what he was able to do this weekend is just interject that life energy up and down the line. And that was sort of like my rant of last week was with the guy. Again, it was no disrespect to the guys that they're doing, but you're playing off out of your roles. Dylan Peterson on this team is not meant to be, the role of him isn't, dude, we need you to go out there and score 25 goals. We need you to be a 40-plus point guy. This is what we need from you. That's not his role. His role is the energy. His role is the hustle. His role is the back check, the forecheck, crashing into boards, which, and that looks scary yesterday, going back first into the boards. But that's what you're looking for, and that's what he's able to provide. So it was good to see him back. I think the team, and you alluded to this, Iowa pushed. I thought they were pushed early, and I was a little nervous. I thought their energy in the game to start that Friday night game was good, but the ref was frustrating me a little bit, just as far as their lack of I don't know. They never seem to have control of the game the way you want officials to have a control of the game. Not that every official needs to be seen or heard, but you need to have control of the game. I felt like they were losing control of the game. I felt like they did a poor job in the face-off circle. But Iowa was the aggressor. So in my head, I'm getting a little nervous here. All right, how is this going to all add up? Does Springfield get out of their game? No, they didn't. And I thought the first period was fine. Second period, you come in and that tough hit with Luff into the boards. My amateur viewpoint sees boarding. That was dangerous. But I like the response from Skinner. And then you have the response from the team. 30 seconds later, you get the goal from Peterson. So that is all that was needed to kind of recapture the swag of this team. And from that moment on, and the way Ellis was lights out, you kind of just felt, okay, get this win under their belt and let's carry it into the weekend. So I think, as far as just Friday goes, physicality, check. Playing your hockey, check. Regaining that swag, check. Colton Ellis is the type of goaltender you need to make any kind of run in any kind of playoff, check. I think what hurt them Friday, again, more injuries from this weekend. We'll have to see. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So it's not all positives. It's not all pluses, but what they needed to do. And I talked about this. You have to earn this win. It doesn't have to be an 8-0 victory. You got to earn it. I thought they did what they needed to do to earn the win on Friday, which carried them into a weekend sweep.
Yeah. And let's give the coach a little bit of kudos here too, because it's a 3-3. And I think most of all of us are thinking, okay, you go Ellis, Zarenko, Ellis. And Ellis gets the shutout on Friday night. Boom, he's right back in Saturday. I'm kind of thinking like, well, why would they do that? And then I'm thinking, well, that's, I think his second at least win against Iowa. It was a shutout, kids on a heater, throw him back out there.
Yeah.
And then as we kind of talked about in our text exchange, like Zarenko's played really well in Providence. So it actually kind of worked out, whether it was intentional or not. I'm going to be under the assumption that decision to do it that way wasn't made until post shutout. I don't think on Thursday it was like, we're going to go Ellis Zarenko. It could be, but I think that was a post game / halftime adjustment where you're like, nope, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do it differently. And it worked out. So again, if Ellis lost and that's on Saturday night, I would have some questions. Be like, why did you play him back to back? All's well when it ends well. Right. So,
right.
So good call there by Kano and the coaching staff to get Ellis in there back-to-back nights. And yeah, real quick on Friday night, I thought that you mentioned they were the aggressors. Iowa was. I didn't feel like the Thunderbirds got pushed around. I feel like there were games against teams that were bigger, like Grand Rapids, and sometimes Charlotte. If they're bigger, they tend to get pushed around a little bit, and that did not happen in that Iowa game. Now Iowa's not as big. Their average guy isn't 6'5" like it is on other teams in the league.
Yeah.
So they were able to push back a little bit, and from the top on down. I mean, Pekka was out there hitting guys, right? So I always make the joke when he and Hugh McGing hit somebody, I say, hey, pick on someone your own size. You know what I mean? So you love to see that. A complete game. I thought they were much better in their own zone. Defensively, I thought that Ellis saw a lot of rubber, but it didn't seem to me like the kid was just getting peppered and he wasn't getting any help. And that to me is the big thing, is that the help seemed to be there. All the D I thought played really well. Schoenemann wasn't his best game Friday night, but Loof was great. Hunter Skinner is just, I think Hunter Skinner is like the most consistent player on this team. I know exactly what I'm getting. And does he have maybe one or two kind of, I don't want to even say boneheaded, just one or two kind of questionable plays a game? Sure. Who doesn't, right? But he does it on offense. He does it on defense. He's great exiting the puck through the neutral zone. Just an all-around great game from those guys. And then, yeah, like you said, that fight, and I think Connor Walchuk mentioned it too after the game. Somebody mentioned it, that kind of got the bench going. And when your guy gets smushed like that, like Luff did, and nobody responds, that has an effect too. So there's one or two ways to go. And I thought that was a huge turning point in the game. As you mentioned, Peterson scores, then I got the wrong game pulled up, but who scored? Then McEachern scored like 2.5 minutes after that. And then now you're playing a team in Iowa who's not good, who you've beaten twice, down 2-0. We say this all the time about Bridgeport. Just get up on them and let them kind of fall apart. And that's kind of what Iowa did there. So I don't know. You love to see it. A team you should beat. And now you've passed Lehigh Valley in the standings, and now Hartford's even further away. So just a solid win on Friday and weekend.
Yeah, and one more, my kind of last note on Friday, and I know you're working, but you and I we kind of go back and forth sometimes. But I thought there were moments, and really right after that Luff injury where it could have teetered. You had, again, we don't try to too much to pick on referees here, but that lines person there, she needed to drop the puck, and you can tell Pekka was getting frustrated. Mac was getting frustrated, and there were moments where you're like, all right, like you said, you had the response from Skinner. This can go one of two ways. I thought when it could have gotten a little bit emotional, the Thunderbirds didn't get over emotional, and they allowed it, though, to be that sort of positive energy, which led to the goals. And I thought that was good because it was frustrating. You had, again, you're worried about your player who's hurt, who did not look good. There were a few other questionable calls, in my opinion. You're not dropping the puck. Pekka, who never talks in sort of a negative way, you could hear him from the stands kind of like, let's go, like, get it together, get your head in the game. And it was a good response, a positive response where I'm glad it didn't go in the negative way.
I'll just give you one more on that. And
Yep.
I believe it was the Friday night game where I think it was, let me just double check. Yes. So Leo Loof gets called for a hook, and Pekka's not on the ice, but McEachern is, and he has the A.
Yep.
And he goes over to talk to the referee to get sort of an explanation, or at least to say something. And the exchange was basically the ref telling him, go back to the bench. I don't want to talk to you. And McEachern is saying, well, like, what do you mean? I have a letter. I got a letter here on my shirt. Yep. I would like to talk to you. And the ref basically told him to go kick rocks. And I don't know. We talked to Casey about the importance of communication and over communicate. And then, oh, by the way, a minute and like 18 seconds later, McEachern gets called for interference.
Yeah.
So it's like, dude, like that doesn't look good, right? Like, I want to be team ref. Like, I really don't think that they do that bad of a job, as bad of a job in this league as people think. I think you got a pretty good group of officials.
Yep.
Moments like that, though, are the ones for me that I'm like, I kind of scratch my head. Like, you can't give them the time of day. Then you had points in the game where I'm sitting there of all the guys, 10 guys standing at the dot, ready for the game to start, and I'm like, well, what are we waiting for? And then the referee's over at the bench, just I don't know what they're talking about, but they're talking about something, and it's like, okay, well, maybe if McEachern's the head coach, he'll get the time of day. I don't know. It was just kind of weird.
Yeah.
But in those two games, power plays were 10 for Iowa and 6 for Springfield. And again, I hate to beat the dead horse here, but Ryan said something in the game on Sunday when I was listening to it. I think it was a slashing call where he was basically saying the slash came, the Providence guy just dropped his stick and looked at the ref, and then the ref's hand went up.
That was on McGing.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
If they're going to call sort of reactionary penalties, I'm fine with that. I'm surprised that logic wasn't used on the Luff hit.
Yeah.
And again, different officials, right? So everybody, as we talked with Casey, every official's different, right? They all kind of have their own thing. But that looked, it was questionable, and the fact that he was down in a heap kind of really said something there. So either way, the T-Birds prevail in both of those games. Saturday night to me was a lot of fun. And again, it was they got outshot 19-5 in the first period. They gave up 40 total shots. It was tied 1-1, and we were kind of like, man, like you should be up 4, like you should be burying this team. And then sure enough, they win the second period, 13-9 in shots, 2-1 in goals. And again, I was ready to roll over if you can just bury one more, and then boom, they get the goal to go up 4-2 and the empty netter, and that was that. So
my takeaways, though, I don't know if this is the right way to sound, and I don't, fans, I'm not negative, but I was less impressed with Saturday's victory. If again, and just hear me out. I just thought there were parts of that game. You had like 3 odd man rushes. You had 3-on-1. You end up with no shots. You're giving up 18, 19 shots in the first period. I would have liked to have seen again, at the end of the day, you get the victory, and that is the only thing that matters, is the win and the 2 points. But Ellis still looked great. I think both of the goals he gave up were power play goals. So he made it through the weekend without giving up a single 5-on-5 goal. 5-on-5 defense played phenomenal this weekend. But I would have liked to have seen, once you kind of earned that victory Friday night, got the monkey off your back. Of course, Iowa's not going to lay down, so I expected them to come out hot like they did. I wanted to see Springfield match that. We've talked about that at times, where sometimes you feel like that even keel of a Springfield, when teams crank it, it makes Springfield sort of look like they're not hustling, they're not playing. When really, I just think it's that even keel of Springfield. I would have liked to have seen them come out Saturday cranked up a little bit more. But again, like we said last week, they are who they are, and this is who they are, and they're gonna sit there and fine. You can outshoot us 18-19-5 after one. The score is gonna be 1-1, so we're fine with that. And then we'll come out in the second period and third period and finish you off. So that's kind of how Saturday went. And
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I can understand that.
What was your take on Addison playing fourth line forward on Saturday night?
Well, I think, so again, I still don't know much about the player. I think that on paper, he is probably your best and your most undersized offensive defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
So why not? I think that Skinner is very, very valuable on the back end.
Yep.
So I would rather have him back there than playing forward.
Agreed.
So I think that was maybe some of the mindset. And again, maybe part of it was just like, again, you got no goals, no points, and no assists, and you're -8 in 6 games. Let's throw you on a wing and see what happens.
Yeah.
Right. And it didn't really amount to anything necessarily, but at least it wasn't Skinner, and at least it was a bit of a change of pace for the player.
I saw a fight from him this weekend, which I thought which is a good sign, because
Mm-hmm.
I think, again, we talked about some of the things, the cards, stacked against him, so to speak, where new player knows nothing about the Eastern Conference, knows nothing about the Atlantic Division. Why would he? Is used to playing on losing clubs where you just brush it off and play the next game. Lose, you brush it off, you play the next game, right? I think when you're in a winning club and this is what a winning culture does, is when you do lose, you gotta feel the sting. You gotta let it stew for a little bit. You gotta get over it, but you gotta feel that. And so I thought it was good. I thought he showed literal fight, and physicality and speed this weekend. So that was good to see him, and his flexibility is probably the wrong word, but his ability to play forward. I thought, hey, if you're playing him on fourth line forward, again, what is the expectation on that fourth line? Give me some energy, win pucks in the corner, play sound, drain energy of your opposing line who you're going up against. And I thought he was able to do that. I thought he did just fine.
And, he was also drafted by Minnesota, played for 2 seasons for the Wild, got a total of 4, basically, seasons worth of time with Minnesota. So I think that was maybe a part of it too, playing your old team a little bit. But yeah, I agree. I thought he was way more active in Saturday's game, really all weekend, than he was in his prior games. And again, maybe part of that is right now he's playing a team from the West. He's like, hey, I know this looks familiar.
These guys. Yeah.
Right. So maybe there was a little bit of that too. So yeah, I can't really think of a guy who I thought had a bad weekend in the Iowa games.
Schoeneman was great. I got to point him out. I thought Schoeneman played well, using the body to block the puck, hustling. He was in good position all week. I thought he played really well.
He did have a string of 3 plays in like less than a minute and a half that were,
yeah.
I mean, he made a great clear out of the zone. He blocked a shot. I don't even remember what the other one was, but it was 3 things all in a row that I said, man, it's Schoeneman again. Like,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah, no, he had a great weekend.
So love to see it. And then are we ready for Pravi?
Let's do it.
All right. That was so. I'm gonna let you a little secret. So I couldn't take flow hockey anymore. I couldn't take it. I couldn't take it. I was like, you know what? Because it's the volume thing for me, right?
Yeah.
My kids are watching a movie. I have it on my little Google Home, and I click, 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 too loud. Click, 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 too quiet. So I said, screw it. I'm putting on the radio on my phone. I'm listening to WHYN on the iHeartRadio app, and if a goal happens, I'll look up and rewind it. Because I wanted to watch the game, but of course I couldn't. So one thing leads to another. Kids are having dinner, all this stuff's going on. So I say, I'm gonna listen to the rest of this game. I got to take a shower, so I'm in the shower, my phone outside the shower on full blast, and I am like screaming in the shower, fist pumping, high fiving the wall, and my wife is like ready to call the cops. Like she has no idea what the hell.
Did you fall in there,
the
Steve?
bathroom.
You okay?
It's something like that. So then I got out and went back to the Google Home and rewound and got to watch the last 3.5 minutes. Now I'm such a sicko. I watched it once with our call, and then I watched it once with the Providence call.
That was awesome. It was great.
At the beginning. And it was a great call by Austin. You call both ways, but shout out to the Providence play-by-play guy who's really good. He calls a really nice game. And what are you supposed to do? Like, what do you say in that moment? I thought he did a really nice job with it, but yeah, I caught the end of that one in the shower, and that's one I'll probably remember for a while.
That was good. Yesterday was my only day where I could work in my basement. So I'm trying to finish the basement, kind of one paycheck, one wall at a time. So I was down there, finishing framing one of the walls that I'm building. And I was able to, I watched the first period, and I'm like, wow, look at this. Like the first period ended, and I was like, wow, Springfield outshot them like 18-5. I'm like, wow, look at that. And then I'm downstairs, and the boys are screaming the updates for me. So I was like, all right, I knew where I would want to go back and rewatch it. I come back up, and I finished cleaning up what I was working on, and it's like 6 minutes left in the third period. So I'm like, all right, let me watch. And I'm looking at the shots, and I'm like, am I seeing that right? Since the first period, the Thunderbirds have only managed 5 other shots. I'm like, oh, all right. Well, it is what it is. They're still in it. What a finish, though. And you cannot give Nikita Alexandrov enough credit, not just for the goals, but his and McEachran's, after you tie it, and you're down 20 seconds left, you're not just coasting for your point into overtime. The way, and I'm pretty sure it was Nicky who lifted the stick first. I don't know who the Providence player was, but lifts the stick to gain possession, then pass it to McEachran, who's able to get it to the blue line for Loof. And when that happened in real time, I'm sitting on the couch, and I actually yelled, and I'm like, did Loof just get his first career AHL goal in that way? Like, I didn't know if Nicky hit it yet, if he'd redirected it. I'm like, did Loof just do that? Unbelievable. And just what a great call. And after you texted me about the Pravi call, me and the boys rewatched it. And you're right. It was a good call. If I'm a Providence fan, I kind of want to hear that depression, in the voice and the silence. Because what do you say in those moments? Like that's what makes a good play-by-play broadcaster, though, is when you encapsulate those moments for your fans. You feel it with your fans, so you bring the fans in with you. Ryan does this phenomenal. And I forget his name, but he did that well because
Austin Rook,
so good call, Austin. And I know we're kind of jabbing you a little bit here, but it was a good call.
All in good fun, dude.
Yeah, it was a good call because that's what you want. He brought his audience in, and I forget. He was just like, well, I don't really know what to say here.
He had something that was that one line. That just made me laugh.
My God, the one guy that you couldn't let beat you just beat you. Yep. Like, it was like, stop Nikita Alexandrov, and good for Nicky. And here's a thought that I wanted to get out and just repopped into my head. All this is done without Dvorsky. And I don't mean this as like, the guys can't win without him. Devo's 19, but he always sort of, you knew you would get the energy. You knew you would get the talent and the skill with Dvorsky. This whole weekend was done without him. So, what would lines look like without him if we have to start the playoff and Dvorsky's still up in St. Louis? This is what it would look like. Hopefully you get a Luff back. Hopefully Kaskamaki's back. I don't know.
And remind me to go back to Jakob Stützle, because I'm curious what you thought about him. But it is funny because we've been talking all year about this young team and how young they are. And I have all 3 games pulled up here, and it's, Peterson, McGing, Peterson, Loof, Pekka, Skinner, McEachern, Alexandrov, Peterson, McGing, McEachern, Pekka, Alexandrov, McEachern, Alexandrov, Schuneman, Loof, Alexander. It's the veterans. It's the guys that are 25 and older, 28 and older, 30 and older in some cases, coming through here and just putting the team on their back. And that top line was just that. I mean, Pekka, McEachern had a phenomenal weekend. That guy was absolutely awesome this weekend. So, that's what you love to see when you need it the most, is your veterans, your captains, your assistant captains, the guys wearing letters on their chest, right? Those are the guys that you need to, when you need to step up, and they needed it after that losing streak. They needed it this week more than any other weekend, and they leaned on the veterans, and that's awesome. That's how it should be. So
absolutely
loved it. And real quick, going back to the second Alexandrov goal that won it, I'm just looking at it on the ice for Providence. Merkulov, Duran, Matthew Patra, Frederick Brunet, Ty Gallagher. So that's probably, if not their number 1, their number 2 D pair, and Merkulov and Patra, and they're probably their top line.
That last sequence, the last 40 seconds, and you rightfully so kind of called the T-Birds out for this. Who wants it more? It's your goalie, your goal. You're going to protect it or not? And they did that this weekend, right? You know what I'm saying? That was 20 seconds left. You're not down 1, so you're not pressing for a gotta have it goal.
Right.
You're out there playing. Who wanted it more? Nikita Alexandrov, Mackenzie McEachern, Leo Loof, and Nikita Alexandrov pops it in. And, that was a turnover in the D zone, in the Thunderbirds offensive zone, but Providence had, and again, I don't remember who had it. Nikki back checks, lifts the stick, gains possession, was able to get it to Mackenzie McEachern, cycle it down underneath, gets it up to the blue line to Loof. Thunderbirds wanted it more in that 10, 12 second span. That's all it took. And, heading into now what potentially could be a first round matchup, I think, the Thunderbirds have played the Atlantic Division really, really well this year, with the exception of Hershey. I think they're 0-4 against Hershey, but have played Hershey well.
They played them well. They just well.
I mean, Hershey, Hershey is 2-time defending champ, right? So, but they played them well. I would have liked to have seen them win a game, but they haven't. Every other team in that division, I'm not like, as a fan, I'm not scared of the matchup. I'm not. Providence, I feel like they've I'm more afraid of Bridgeport as a fan, because for whatever reason, Thunderbirds don't play Bridgeport well.
Right.
They've kind of had their way with the Wolfpack this year. I feel like they kind of have had their way with Providence this year.
Lehigh Valley too.
And Lehigh Valley. Now, Lehigh Valley's a physical team. I think that's a series where you would see a little bit more of Bitt and Kessie. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, and we got to make the playoffs first. But I think more importantly, if that is a matchup against Providence in the first round, I think don't underestimate Vadim Zarenko's success against Providence. Even when he has come out, and I think the 2 times he's lost against Providence this year, one was like a 2-1 loss. More recent, he's played well. So even in the losses, he's played well, and he gets the win. Finally, the team helps Zarenko out, because Zarenko played phenomenal yesterday.
Mhm.
So I think that's got to be in the player's head. It's not like, oh, hey, we solved one of these goalies, because you're going to see both in a playoff series. So either one of them, if you're Providence, you're like, we still haven't figured out how to truly solve these guys. Whereas I think the Thunderbirds feel a little bit more confident against both DiPietro, who they've beat, and Bussy, who they've been able to beat. So
yeah, no, it's true. And the thing to watch out for with Providence is that Boston just sucks. And
yes.
Monday, Patrick Brown was sent down. Vinny Lettieri was sent back down. It's only a matter of time till Lizell comes back down. I mean, eventually their season's going to end. And I don't know what the timing is between the NHL season ending, the AHL playoffs starting. But the minute Boston's out, you're going to see a pretty good influx of your Ian Mitchells and Callahans and all these guys that have been tweeners. They're all going to be in Providence. So
the
roster is going to look a little different. And that's something the Thunderbirds have to prepare for, when the time comes. And yeah, you mentioned the Atlantic Division. I still think that this team has a lot to prove.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those things being, can you go up to Rochester and Utica this week and beat them both?
Mm-hmm.
Because Utica, I don't even want to think about Syracuse, right? So like, can you go beat Utica? Can you beat Rochester, right? In their buildings on the road on a Wednesday, on a Friday night. So, that's what separates you from being just a playoff team to a contender, right? And I think it'll be interesting to see what the team looks like this weekend. Again, if you play well and you lose 2-1 in a shootout, I'll take that. I don't want it, but I'll take it. If you do go and you get your doors blown off, then then we're kind of back to square one, right? What does this weekend mean in terms of readiness, right? You kind of take a step back with that. So I don't know. We'll see how that shakes out, but I'm curious to keep my eye on that. And and the magic number is now 4. So who knows come Saturday, if you can get some points out of the Rochester and Utica game. Saturday, you're at Lehigh Valley. That game could have a lot on the line. I mean, you could be saying, okay, well, who are we going to match up against in the playoffs, and how do we want to play this game, and who's going to start in goal? And there's going to be a lot of moving parts and pieces to that. So it's exciting. It's exciting to be here compared to where we were last week.
Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah. So for those wondering, I do not have an update on Matt Luff. When he was helped by 2 people off the ice, he looked not well. I mean, I don't even want to really get into it because the lights were on, but nobody was home. And I felt so bad for that guy because all he's done is show up and produce and try hard and play and bring the team together. And he's a good dude. So you hate to see that. I hope wish him nothing but the best. But I do want to know what you thought of Jakob Stützle, which we're going to get into in a minute. But first, I want to let you know the SRG podcast is proudly brought to you by our friends at White Lion Brewing in downtown Springfield and now in Amherst. Parking garage still not open, although I did see some updates. It's opening soon, but they're not opening Bruce Landon Way to cars. I think it's going to be just a pedestrian street now. So I don't really know how you're going to get into the garage. I guess you got to go around to go to the other side, like off of whatever that. I don't know.
I'm good at Tower Square.
I don't know. Right. I'm
good at Tower Square.
I'm going to let everybody else go to the new parking garage, and I am going to go to Tower Square. I'm going to get my parking validated at White Lion. And I can't, but you guys can have a couple beers, get some of the delicious food that they have there. The quesadillas look so good. So help yourself. And if you're not making it to the game, then just go to your local liquor store and find your favorite White Lion brews right there in the cooler. White Lion Brewing, local business, supporting a local podcast. If you go there, make sure you tell them that the boys from SRG sent you. By our friends at Brewcade on Walnut Street in Agawam. Arcade games, pinball, darts, pool, and beers flowing off the tap. So you want to feel like a kid again. You want to remember what it's like to feel like a kid. Check that out. Go with your buddies. If you want your children to experience the lifestyle that you grew up with, you want to pretend you're at the Rollaway in Agawam, check out Brewcade. There's just no roller skating like there was at the Rollaway, but the arcades, everything else, it's got everything that you want. It's a super cool spot. It's very unique. It's a lot of fun. Birthday parties for grown-ups, birthday parties for kids. Definitely give them a call and check them out at Brewcade in Agawam. Tell Mike Sarnelli and the fine folks there that the boys from SRG sent you. And by our friends at Landscaping That Fits, 413-847-0338. Spring is sprung. I don't care what the calendar says. It's April now, babe. So now is the time. If you haven't called yet, look, I don't know what to tell you. I've been telling you guys for how long now? To call
You haven't
Rance Smith
listened.
all winter. All winter, I've been telling you. Now's the time. You got to get on his list. He's booking up fast for whatever it is you need. So make sure you give Rob a call, 413-847-0338. Overseeding, fertilizer, weekly mowing, lawn cleanup, flea and tick. The guy does pretty much everything. So give him a call, and he'll be sure to take care of you. Make sure you tell him that the guys from SRG sent you. And he's a super nice guy, season ticket holder, great guy, Rob, over there at Landscaping That Fits, 413-847-0338. So we talked about Bushinger coming back, who I thought played great. Dylan Peterson came back, who I think we all agree played awesome. What were your thoughts on Jakob Stützle?
You mean the 6'3", 200-pound 19-year-old?
19-year-old? Yeah,
that 19-year-old. My first thought was when I saw him, I go, Jill, see that man over there? He's 19. She goes, "Are you kidding?" Like, she couldn't believe this. I'm like,
the moose. See the moose on the ice? Yeah, that's him.
He wasn't. He didn't seem out of place. It didn't seem like the game was too fast for him. He was engaged along the boards, which is what I like to see. Again, I don't know much about him. I truly like it. It's with Fisher as well. Like, I was kind of surprised to see them. Oh, I thought it would be next year kind of guy, but I like the additions because the team needed it. So I think it was a good interjection of energy. And like I said, the kid is 19 years old and did not seem out of place. He wasn't lost. He wasn't a step behind. He engaged against the boards, hustled, made a few good passes. What you would expect, I think, from anyone joining the team this late in the season and hopping in. And I thought he did just fine.
I agree. I thought he looked like he belonged. And again, it does help when you have that frame. I mean, if you're coming in at 5'9" at the age of 19, like it's going to take it. I don't want to be a heightist, but it's going to be harder to really, assert yourself into a new league. And it's funny. I was thinking about it. I was like, man, does that mean Stenberg's like getting AARP cards at this point? It's like this young kid coming in. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what he's got. I'm excited to see what Lucas Fisher has. The more college hockey ends, the more these guys are going to get signed. But I thought that Stützle, again, I thought he looked good. I really did. I thought he looked like he belonged. And yes, I apologize for giving that information. I thought for sure he was going to stay in the W. Him and Fisher both in the WHL, but they didn't. So good news for us. The not so good news for us is that obviously Jimmy Snuggerud, which I think we all kind of thought was going to happen. I don't know. I had this feeling in my stomach that, like, where are you going to put Jimmy Snuggerud if you're St. Louis? We said the same thing about Dvorsky. Where are they going to put Dvorsky? Of course, I didn't realize they were going to put Dvorsky upstairs for every game.
Yeah,
like, come on.
I was reading a practice report today from the St. Louis Blues, and it sounds like they had on practice, they had Snuggerud working in line 3, and then the extra line, you had Dvorsky, Texier, and Joseph.
Not Walker. Joseph, yeah.
Yeah, Walker was on 4th line. I think, in my amateur opinion, and I think you and I feel the same way here. What's more beneficial, having them around NHL playoff hockey or playing AHL playoff hockey? That's really what it comes down to. From what I'm reading, it sounds like there's more value up in the big club for both Dvorsky and Snuggerud. My new guess is that Dvorsky will not come back down until the Blues are eliminated. That's going to be my sort of expectation. I was hopeful up until I was kind of reading this progress and sort of reading it. It was what's Army's perception on this and what do they want to do? And they want these guys around the high pressure NHL intensity playoff hockey and playoff practices. They want these guys up there. I don't know if Snuggerud would even be eligible to come down.
He's not.
So, okay, I didn't think he was.
Yep.
I do think Dvorsky, if and when the Blues get eliminated, if the Thunderbirds are still playing, I think that's when you would see Dvorsky and Bolduc, because I think that was sort of the expectation that Armstrong had said. They papered Bolduc for that reason. And just side note, they also had Kessel. Tucker was the third line D pairing, and Kessel, and I forget who the other one was, the extra D pairing. So sounds like, unfortunately for us, 3 guys that probably could help the Thunderbirds, Snuggerud, Dvorsky, and Kessel, won't be available. And maybe once the Blues get eliminated, you will be able to see Bolduc and Dvorsky if we're still playing.
That'd be nice. I'm not holding my breath, but that would
be
nice.
Once they get eliminated, I don't see why not.
Well, I mean, I'm geeked up for the minute the playoffs start.
Yeah.
But, I talked last week about the Black Aces, and all these teams like to have their Black Aces. And maybe, side note, maybe that's what, no, Bruins aren't going to make the playoffs, Steve. Dummy. So that's why they're going to send everybody down. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if anybody else gets called up. I mean, if they're going to pull up Mackenzie McEachern just to pull him up and have him ride the bus around, that would be super annoying, but I'd get it, right? Like, that's how it works.
I think you and I, that would make more sense to me. In an emergency situation, who would you put in and have more? But again, from what it sounds like, and I think the Blues are content with. I think you'll see Snuggerud play in his first game, similar to how Dvorsky did right after his call up. You let him play, and then, I think the Blues will go back to, unless he blows it out of the water. I think you'll just see Snuggerud and Dvorsky being around the team, practicing, not playing much. And they view that as more beneficial to their development and for the team big picture. But the Blues have a history, when the Thunderbirds made their Calder Cup run, once the Blues were eliminated, they sent back Lindgren. Charlie Lindgren came back down to help, push the Thunderbirds across the Eastern Conference. So they have a history of doing that. I don't see why they wouldn't give Dvorsky and Bolduc the opportunity to play. So that's my expectation. I'm would I love to see Dvorsky down sooner? Absolutely.
Of course. But we'll just have to see what happens. I mean, that's why we do this, and we're not general managing clubs, unfortunately. Heading to the fan rants. I'm going to do 2 of these together. Fan support is going to be huge help for these guys over the next few games. Took all 3 stars in Providence. That shows the drive to make the playoffs, is Al Arment. And the other one was Lola said, not a rant, but I loved hearing the fans chant, "Let's go T-Birds" at the P Bruins game. It was so loud. Yes, it was, Lola. That was Al. I could tell by his voice. I could tell by the cowbell. He had a group of what sounded like little kid Providence fans giving it back to him, which I thought, again, makes for a more engaging experience, makes it way more palatable. He told me he specifically bought tickets right underneath where Ryan Smith was going to be broadcasting so that he'd be nice and loud on the broadcast. Love that. Absolutely love to hear that at away games. Al, you guys crushed it. He said that his voice was shot this morning, but they had a pretty good size contingency that headed down there. And, I don't know, like, does that help? I mean, the players can hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a late game. It's late in the game, and you just tied it, and you have fans cheering for you in an opposing building, cowbells going, and then boom, you score another goal to win the thing. It's like there has to be at least a little bit of something there. And you mentioned the crowds at home. The crowds at home were great too. It was a great weekend from the fans, both home and on the road.
Yeah, I think it has to mean something. I mean, as any fan, I think, when you hear players are like, "Oh yeah, we love our positive energy," and I also, hey, Boomy, go ahead. That means I'm doing something good, right? So I think when you're in an away arena and you're getting booed or you're getting jeered, to hear those, "Let's go T-Birds," and then at some point they were competing. So again, you knew if the fans are here, if you hear "Let's go T-Birds," "Let's go Bruins," "Let's go T-Birds," "Let's go Bruins," you have to feel good as a fan to know, as a player to know that your fans traveled to see you, they support you, and that's got to give you a little bit of extra juice. Absolutely. So I love to hear that.
Yeah, for sure. Great job, guys.
This was great insight, Christina. My seats are right behind the bench, and the boys were totally different this weekend, cheering each other on, involved from the bench. It was great to see. Hope Luffy is okay. Yeah, I mean, I think we all hope Luff is okay. I wouldn't be surprised if he misses at least Wednesday's game, and we'll see. But he's listed as day-to-day right now, so that's a good sign. As bad as that head neck injury looked, the fact that he's day-to-day is a good sign, in my opinion, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's still out Wednesday, and maybe good for the weekend. But I think that's great insight, and to hear the boys still joking around, maybe they need to keep that a little bit more even keel when things aren't going well, to maybe keep it a little bit more as their energy on the and emotions on the ice stay that way. They stay that way on the bench. If they can still be joking around even when things aren't going, that maybe that's how they get things going. So, but it was good to see, good to hear. And from all that we can see and hear, it does sound and appear like this is a close-knit group, which is what you'll need come playoff time when you face adversity.
I think, again, I don't get to meet all the players on every single team going back, but I can tell you that Mackenzie McEachern is really funny, strong personality. Hugh McGing, we know, we've had him on, super funny. Hunter Skinner, hilarious. Sam Bitten, super funny. They have guys with great personalities that I think go a long way when you are struggling. And sometimes you're frustrated and you're mad and you're upset. And sometimes all it takes is somebody to just have one of those quick one-liners that just makes you start laughing. And then all of a sudden your whole attitude changes, right? Like you're having a bad day and then somebody says something hilarious and your whole day's turned around. I wouldn't be surprised at all if there's a little bit of that from this group. I'm going to say real quick about Love. The only thing I can go off is what I saw when he got taken off the ice. I'm not expecting him to come back this year at all.
Ooh.
From what I saw, and if this league is really, they say they want to protect the head injuries. That guy was on Planet Zippy. And like I said, it broke my heart to see it. I don't know. Maybe he just got his bell rung. Hopefully that's the case. And maybe he passes the policies and protocols that are put into place to get him back on the ice. But from what I saw, my personal belief, and again, I have no information on this, I would be shocked if he came back at all this season. If they have a late run and it's, the middle of May, all right, we'll talk about that. But if I'm not, I doubt he went on the road trip. I mean, it's not at home. Yeah, I don't think I wouldn't expect him the next 3 games for sure. And when they come back home, April 11th, I don't know if he's out there. I'll be pleasantly surprised.
Karen Ann, I like this one. I honestly never know how much 1 or 2 players can make such an impact on a team. Having Peterson back just proved that. Nervous when he got banged up on Saturday, but glad he came out. Any information on Kaskmaki, Dean, and Luff, and when they're supposed to come back? So there you have it. That's kind of our take on Luff. Dean is he's one where I would be surprised if he plays
the
rest of this year. I've been checking. He's been listed as day-to-day. I checked before this weekend, and he was downgraded to week. Not a good sign. When we had Ryan Smith on, as we know, and I hate this about hockey, it means nothing. Day-to-day, week-to-week. We don't know what that means. Give me a timeline. But I would be shocked if Dean comes back this year. Kaskmaki, from what I hear, is closer. Don't know what that means, though. I have no information if how close he is. I don't believe he went on the road trip to Providence. So I don't know. But, Karen Ann, I like your point as sort of just what Peterson did to the lineup, what he does to the lines, the rotation, his energy, his role that he plays, and sort of how he lifts the team up. I think you're spot on there.
And we didn't mention Simon Robertson, who last I saw maybe about it was a week and a half ago, was still in a sling. So that's a tough one. Team did just call up Taryn Pfizer from the ECHL, so at least there's another body. You don't have to go throwing out defensemen, hopefully, for the next little bit. If you got to go Taryn Pfizer, that is an option. So something to definitely keep our eye on here as we move forward. A lot of you guys have issues with the female linesman dropping the puck. I will tell you honestly, I am not touching it. Not touching that one as an employee of the team in the league in the year 2025. Not touching it. Sorry.
Well, look,
Matt's going to touch it.
I will.
I'm not going to
She
touch
didn't.
it.
She had, and that's what I was alluding to from Friday night's game. I thought when they needed to have control of the game, they didn't. And there were moments.
Are you talking the referees, the linesmen?
I think
the whole unit,
the crew as a whole. I think they all can play their role. I know the referees are making the calls, but they all have their role. And part of that is, as a lines person, you drop the puck. What you're doing by not dropping the puck. And she kicked out at one point. She kicked out Pekka, and then it looked. I don't know if this is what actually happened, but it looked like the opposite linesman, or I'm sorry, the opposite referee at the blue line said, "No, Pekka, you can go back in." And it almost was looking like you need to drop the puck because it was there. Like she unjustly kicked out Pekka, and then Pekka went back in and he said something to her. And at one point, she kind of was like, "Yeah, my bad." It looked like she kind of tapped her chest and Patch said, "My bad." And good. I'm glad she owned it. But you have to drop the puck, because in that moment when emotions were high, this was shortly after Luff had gotten hit. And actually, it might have been right after the Skinner fight.
Yep.
Emotions are high. That's how you help to control the game. So by not dropping the puck, what you're doing is you're elevating, you're escalating guys like Pekka, who's like, let's just drop the puck, let us play. So I'll give her credit. She owned it. And after, I just don't think it was a very good start to that second period for the crew. Not just her, but she was the one that needed to drop the puck, and she struggled to do that.
I will give her credit. She was the linesman in Providence on Sunday.
Yep.
And I didn't notice
much better
anything. Right?
Correct.
I didn't notice the note. Yep. I was never like, oh, just drop the thing. I had a bigger issue on Saturday with the puck dropping. It's always when I have to announce. And I'm looking at the clock says 1 minute. I need 1 second to go by before I could do last minute of play in the period. And I'm just staring at it. And I started, and I seriously, I started going, waiting for the puck to drop, waiting for the clock to turn. And I ran out of breath before they dropped the puck. I got a pretty good set of lungs in here. I ran out of breath and I had to restart, and I sounded like an idiot because this guy wouldn't drop the puck. I was listening to podcasts. The first interview we did with Casey Terreri, I was complaining to him about the linesman not dropping the puck. So I don't know. I don't want to keep beating everybody over the head with my feelings on that, but it is one of those things that turns 2 hour and 15-minute games into 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems like an exaggeration, but yes, it usually it's 5-10 minutes extra, at least, maybe 15 per game. And time is money. So.
You got to kick somebody out. You got to let them come back in. You got to reset. Yeah, no, I'm here.
Sometimes it's not even that. Sometimes it's just, we got to lecture this guy. I got to turn around because these guys back here are doing something I don't like.
I hear you.
So yeah. So anyway, so we are short on time. I don't know. Any other fan rants that you wanted to hit on? I'm good on them.
I think they're all good. We love them. Keep them coming. And
sure.
Thank
you, Lynn. Yours was good as well.
Yeah. She's the best. I hope you're feeling better, Lynn. It looked like you weren't feeling well, so I hope you're feeling better. But yeah, no, we appreciate all the feedback and the support on our pages. So
for sure. Looking ahead, as we mentioned, 3-game road trip. I think this is kind of a big one here, just in terms of metal, right? Mm-hmm. Just grit and balls. How ready are you for the playoffs? At Rochester tonight, at Utica on Friday, and at Lehigh Valley on Saturday. Matt, what are some of the things you're going to be looking for in these games?
I think you said it. How do you now play? These aren't Atlantic Division teams. Your magic number is now 4. You've got the Americans, who you kind of struggled with earlier in the season. The last time you played them, they are a second place in the North, 85 points. And then you've got the Utica Comets, who are struggling, having a down year. I'm with you. I want to see. Okay, we hit the rock bottom. We had bad play. 6-game losing streak. That's done. That's over. We've got a nice little 3-game winning streak to rebound. At this point now, you just have to play good hockey. That's it. period. So I'm expecting. I want to see you come out fast Wednesday. I don't know what to expect. Who's going to be in the lineup? I would expect Colton Ellis to be in goal. Other than that, and quite honestly, I don't even know other. You probably have Pekka and Alexandrov on the top line. I don't even know after that, right? I have no idea who they're gonna be paired with. So you just got to come out and you got to play good hockey. Utica is a team that when we played them in Springfield, I think kind of snuck up on you. If I'm not mistaken, they started the season like 0-10 or something like that, and really off to a bad start, but then kind of got hot. And when they played us in Springfield, I think they kind of caught us off guard a little bit. So now I'm looking for kind of payback there. That's kind of the game where, again, given where you are in the season and where the teams are in the standings, that's got to be a win. And if you are able to clinch your playoff against Utica on what is that, Friday or Saturday night, that's what I would expect. I got to see a good showing, a Thunderbird hockey game Wednesday tonight against the Americans. The record's going to be, the wins or losses is going to be what it is, but it has to be a good game played, a sound game played. We can't revert back into bad habits.
Yeah, if I remember, Utica, like you said, started off terribly, and then they rattled off like 9 wins in a row. And I think we caught them right in the middle of that.
Yes.
Yep. It was like they had already won like 5 or 6 in a row, so that was kind of a hot spot there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know I'm like you. I'm interested. I mean, Rochester has not officially clinched. They're up 10 points on third place Toronto, so I got to figure that they're going to be in. They have not technically clinched yet, and Utica would love to play spoilers. So you can't overlook Utica to have your eyes on the Lehigh Valley game. That Lehigh Valley game could be very important, and you can't sleepwalk through the Utica game just to get to Lehigh Valley.
Agreed.
Talk about mental toughness. You talk about metal. You talk about all those things. That's the sign for me. Don't overlook Utica because you have Lehigh Valley up on deck. So let's hope that they stay focused. They take every game, play every period, to the buzzer, and let's hope we can get some points here this weekend because we still need them. We still need them.
You know what I would like to see, and for no other reason than I'm a fan and I would enjoy seeing it. I would like to see you put Kessie in the lineup against the Americans. You put Sam in the lineup against Utica, and against Lehigh Valley, who we know is physical and likes to fight. You put them both in. By then, if you've already clinched your playoff spot, I'm cool with that. You know what I mean? Looking at the Hartford Wolfpack schedule. Oh, where'd I go here? There you go. Let me pull it up on the AHL app. They've got back-to-back against Hershey.
Ooh.
So
in Hershey or in Springfield or in Hartford?
In Hershey.
Oh.
Yeah, they've got Saturday at Hershey, Sunday at Hershey, Wednesday at the Islanders. Wednesday, April 9th. So that's going into next week. But so those 2 games. Now we also know Hartford did beat Hershey.
Yes, they did
last week, and Milwaukee last week.
Yep.
2 teams that we lost to. So, by no means is this a goner, but with your magic number at 4, I think you really could be looking at that game in Lehigh Valley. If you're able to pull a win, if the Wolfpack, lose one of those games against Hershey, that game in Lehigh Valley, and that's where I'd like to see, like, hey, just put out Bitton and Kessie out there and take no doo-doo, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And talk about, again, sending a message going into the playoff, buyer beware kind of thing. I don't know. That's just me as a fan, because I think that would be entertaining and fun to watch.
Oh, it's nice to get Peterson back in there too. We talk about not getting pushed around. You had Peterson in the lineup. You had Jakob Stutzel in the lineup, who's 6'3".
Yeah,
you're not going to get pushed around anymore. So
that's true. One thing, side note, and then we'll kind of close it out here, I guess, unless you have anything. But one thing that my games that we go to, that we're in the stands for, my family, we kind of have this thing where we pick who do we think is going to get the first goal and who do we think is going to get the first fight, and each one is like $1. And if you win, I give him $1, right? So, but to your point with Peterson out, and you're like, all right, well, Sam's got the bubble on, Peterson's out. If you're not playing Kessie, who's my like dollar to
Skinner and
first
McEachran.
fight?
Yeah.
Skinner.
Yeah.
Or we just kind of like we scroll through the app and put our finger on a guy because you might as well. It's like a Butchinger fight. Who knows? But with Peterson in the lineup, that helps too. A guy who's going to be top 6 minutes, top 2 line. But if he needs to, he'll throw down. So
Definitely.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. That'll be fun to keep our eye on. I want Sam to get that fishbowl off his head. That's what I want.
You remember at the beginning of the year when we were like, he just needs to get into a fight. He seemed like a teenage, the testosterone was. You can tell lately. I've noticed this where he's kind of mixing it up a little bit more. He needs to fight. He needs, but he also needs to be healthy. I don't want the guy to.
I get the impression he's getting chirped a lot too.
Yeah.
Like I think that whole Kale Kessie, Joey Abate thing started because
yes.
Well, why don't you take that fishbowl? Again, I don't know. Why don't you take that fishbowl off and blah, 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 blah. And then that's when Kessie stepped in and go, oh, you want to fight somebody? I'll fight me. And then Abate all of a sudden didn't want to.
No, thanks.
So yeah, I think he's got to get the fishbowl off and he's got to punch somebody in the face. I think that's what Sam is looking at, but we'll see. We'll see how this week shakes out. We thank everybody for listening as always and tuning in. We want to thank our friends at White Lion Brewing in downtown Springfield and in Amherst, our friends at Brewcade on Walnut Street in Agawam. Just give them a like on social media and a follow. And by our friends at Landscaping That Fitz and Rob over there, 413-847-0338. We want to thank everybody for listening. Thanks to Austin Rook out there in Providence we had more compliments for Austin than we didn't. But he's a good dude and he had a great call. So we're just, we're just busting stones, but, thanks.
It's all good. All good. We appreciate the likes, the follows, the fan rants. I appreciate you coming up to me on the concourse. Call me, hey, the podcast guy. Great show. Love it. Thank you. It's awesome. I appreciate it. But listen, folks, magic numbers 4, big games coming up. Put a bad losing streak behind us. Moving forward with the winning streak. Let's keep it rolling. Let's go, T-Bird.